I'm Gretchen Rubin, and this is the behind-the-scenes video for Happier at Home. I thought it might be fun for readers to see with their own some of the things that I talk about. So one of the things that I talk about is that I was cultivating shrines. And one of the shrines that I cultivated was to my family, and I used a photograph dress, which is my favorite dress that either child has ever had. And then here's the one from the most recent Valentine's Day. And so this is just fun because the pictures have special impact since they're not out all the time, because it's so easy just to get used to photographs so they fade into the background. But this way, I really feel the pleasure of them every year. And here we are at my shrine to perfume bottles that I've saved from my childhood, because I've always loved little perfume bottles. Then I got into perfume. I read this really fascinating book by Luca Turin and Tanya Sanchez called Perfumes, the A to Z Guide, which is this like crazy review of perfumes, which makes you want to smell every perfume in the world. And fortunately, there's a site called The Perfumed Court, which will sell you packages. I have things like best masculine fragrances, best citrus fragrances. This is best strange fragrances. And a friend and I spent an afternoon like having a smell party and smelled these, and these smell so strange. There was one that both of us were just so, it was uncanny how strange and weird that fragrance was. It's like nothing I'd ever smelled before. This is my comfort smell. It's a CB I Hate perfume. Two possessions that are very important to me are these bird statues, because they remind me of my grandparents. My grandmother gave me this bird, which was very prescient, because a bluebird, of course, is a symbol of years, to remind me of my grandmother. And then when both my grandparents died, I was asked if there was anything I wanted to take from their house. And this unlikely object was something that when I was young, I had really admired. It was in this cabinet behind sort of a screen, so I couldn't touch it at its house. So I'll take it. And it's sort of hard to know what to do with a flamingo statuette, because you want to keep mementos because they're precious to you, but they can quickly become overwhelming, and there's with it. I thought about framing it, and then that just seemed too ambitious. Or these like Candyland shoes. She called them her Candyland shoes, and she loved them and wore them all the time. And here, I've been looking for this. I can give all the other clothes as hand-me-downs to somebody else. And this is manageable. I can put this in a closet and we can handle this, but we can't handle everything. And so it's good because it's highly edited. Everything in here is meaningful. We look through it. We look to keep mementos under control, but still precious. So one of the things that I mentioned in the book is these wooden cogs, which are they were used to make as models, and I love them. I think they're so beautiful, they're so pleasing, and they're in the kitchen, so we get to look at them all the time. But I have to say, as a writer, on a per sentence basis, for some reason, the sentence in which I described these cogs gave me so much difficulty. Like, I would have parts where I was describing complicated. Well, do people really think about that when they're working on a book, or is it just everybody makes it up later? And the fact is, I really did very specifically have a motif of treasure. And if you look at the book, on the first page, on the last page, and all throughout, there is a lot of mention of treasure. And so I thought this would be a perfect little thing for me just to have on the bookshelf in my office to remind me of how much fun I had writing Happier at Home, and to remind me of my treasure. As I mentioned in the book, I'm a very fearful driver. But I decided to work on that fear, to push myself to actually get back in the car. And